Welcome to Sakshi TV Special Immigration Show with lawyer Mr. Srinivas Kaveti, who's also going to be a doctor, an actor. Before we get onto the show, please note that the information provided on this show is not legal advice and for general informational purposes only. Sakshi TV or its agents will not be responsible for the use of information. If you need any specific legal advice, please contact the attorney directly. Lawyer Srinivas Kaveti works from Kaveti Law Firm, which is a law firm recognized all around the world. They have offices around New York, around Australia, Asia, Europe, and also New York City. They're basically headquartered from New York City. First of all, let's welcome Mr. Kaveti Garu. Mr. Kaveti, welcome back to our show.
Thank you, Shivani. Thanks
It's
for.
amazing having you on our show. And firstly, I want to congratulate you because you have recently been you recently received an honorary doctorate in international law. So, first of all, can you please tell the viewers about what exactly do you do, and then we can carry on the show.
Thanks for having me, Shivani. I'm excited after a long international overseas trip. What we've been doing is, this time when I was back in India, we did a seminar for students in Nizamabad in Vijay Engineering College that how to, get an F1 visa. And if they want to travel to other countries on a student visa, what are do's and don'ts? That's one seminar we did in Nizamabad. And after that, we did a human rights, seminar for certain Dalits in Nizamabad. About 325 people attended that. And after that, I happened to travel to Dubai. In Dubai, we did a seminar on international environmental law that, what sort of things have to be taken care, comparison and, how things are happening in India in terms of environmental litigation. And then I was also in Israel and I was speaking on what are the, workers' rights, because a lot of workers are going to Israel now. And of course, there are a lot of workers in Dubai as well. So I've addressed a seminar in Israel, Tel Aviv for, Israeli Telugu Association. So it's been a lot of education and I was back acting in a movie as a judge. Just wanted to have that artistic, I wanted to meet some artists as well. It was interesting that I met some artists, like, some reputed artists in India. And they happened to share some of their legal issues with me. And I didn't expect that, big artists also will have some legal problems, family law problems and stuff like that. I happened to advise them. So it was really exciting. I mean, it was an awesome and exciting tour I had. And on the top of it, this university, it's called Socrates, University. They do research. They also conferred me with a honorary doctorate in Dubai. I happened to meet a lot of professors, law professors, and there's one professor have asked me to, come to Africa to give a lecture on law, but I said I could give a virtual seminar. And there's one university from Kerala, they have asked me to, give lectures for students that how, we are opening up an office in Middle East for advising, there are a lot of workers from, especially from Telangana and Andhra. These are laborers, basically. And I met some of them, that what are their rights, workers' compensation rights and wage rights. And, some immigration rights they have in Middle East. A lot of them don't know, poor people, because they're not educated. So I met some of them, and we are starting in my firm in Dubai. By January, we are going to open it, and we have given it for registration. It's going to be in World Trade Center, Latifa Towers, on a 6th floor. And I'm excited that I'll be meeting some, Indians in Middle East to advise non-resident Indians what sort of rights they have, touching their lives. There are a lot of people, what happens in Middle East, because all the lawyers, they talk about American laws and American rights and everything, because America being a, they have a liberty and a Bill of Rights. In terms of Shariat laws, in terms of, in Islamic countries like Middle East and United Arab Emirates, they don't have rights the way we have it in common law system. It's all Shariat law. Shariat law is Islamic law. And I happened to visit also Dubai. There are courts which are specifically designed for English speaking and common law, and for multinationals there is a zone. So I am actually registering myself to appear on behalf of certain clients from Dubai. This is there are two types of courts in Middle East. One is for Shariat laws, where the Arabic lawyers are entitled to appear in the courts, but foreign lawyers are not entitled. And there are special zone courts which foreign lawyers like us, those who speak English, practice English law, British law, American law, we can appear in those courts. So it's an interesting experience I had. So we are exploring that, and of course to cater to our Indian community, help them, represent them in the Dubai jurisdictions and in multinational. Yeah, that's what we're going to do.
Yes. So, Mr. Kaveti, you did say that you were invited to the Vijaya Engineering College as a lecturer, and you did speak about human rights. This is, I think, a venture that you personally, I think, are new to it. Lecturing people, talking to different kind of students. How does it feel? And also, I think, how important do you think it is, especially for this generation, to know about human rights, now that there's basically a war around the world every other month. It's very hard. International relations are a little not so good right now. So how does it feel for you to enlighten so many different students around the world? And yeah, what is your view on this?
I met a lot of parents as well, because they were asking me questions on career guidance. And basically, when the students, when they approach the consulate, what are the do's and don'ts? And some kids, they even had denials that they wanted to go back again. And what sort of rights, basically these students have rights when they, come to the, foreign countries. It was eye opening for them. And I met some kids with some issues. I met some students. They were asking me, what are the countries? And because every country has different laws in terms of work rights, in terms of their travel rights, in terms of their, right to speech and right to work and right to travel, and all those things I could share. What are those basic rights they have? And with what they can do when they, immigrate, or when they come to these foreign countries like US, and even in England or other parts of the world like Canada, Australia, because every country has certain immigration and, pertaining to the laws pertaining to students. So because I had exposure and experience going to law school in Australia, England, and America, so I shared my, knowledge and wisdom to these kids. And some parents were also asking me certain questions because they wanted to immigrate with their children after the kids migrate to these foreign countries. Certain parents were also, they were very happy because I was sharing them what sort of rights they have, because, could they visit their children when the kids are going to school, and can they visit on a visitor visa when their children graduate, and things like that, and what are the documents they need to have. And in terms of sometimes people, parents, sometimes they also lose businesses, sometimes they lose jobs, sometimes they become sick, so they will not be able to pay the school fees for the kids. So what are the remedies that students have in terms of applying for work visas under the humanitarian basis while in the college? So they were very, very happy in the engineering college when I know it was like a seminar. It was a 45 minutes to 1 hour seminar, and it was conducted by an American guy. His name is Rajendra Ditchpalli. He runs Gandhi Foundation from New Jersey. He organized that seminar in Nizamabad, because he comes from Nizamabad. So he invited me as a lawyer. So I was there and I shared my experiences with the young kids. There were 300 to 400 students in that college. And I normally, whenever I come to India, I do give seminars to the students, law students, and engineering college, pharmacy colleges, and sometimes to young lawyers as well. So I do speak on different platforms.
Yes.
Um,
Mr. Kaveti, I do also know that you're also into environmental law and that you did have a trip to Dubai and, you were also very much, you also gave a paper, you also gave a proper presentation on international law. So can you please talk about this specific trip to Dubai and what actually happened there? Because I did see a lot of pictures and, we've also, so yeah, maybe anything that you want to say about this?
Yeah, environmental law, because in India, it's not, the activism is not there, but people are trying to do. And there were some professors, those who came and they were talking, and I was also speaking on, see, the way things are, if you see the world in terms of wars, in terms of, calamities, natural calamities like earthquakes, and if you see Pakistan, there's so many rains, even in India, in Africa, there's famine, and if you see Greece and Italy, oh, all over the world, there is a climate change, and why this is happening in the world. And if you see the North Pole and South Pole, the ice glaciers, they're melting, and the sea level is going high. In terms of environmental law, it was a seminar. I made a presentation of a paper on how this climate change is affecting the world and what sort of measures one has to take, because the movement is, the environmental movement started by the United States and many of these European countries, and how India has to catch up, and how Middle East is so, they're already, strictly implementing environmental laws. If you see the waste management in Middle East, especially in Dubai, and if you see, they don't have water, it's all desert. That how they're taking the seawater and converting into a fresh water by taking off the salt, and how they're recycling the water, how they're recycling the waste management, and how they're not polluting it. You understand what I mean? Because there's 24 hours air conditions are there, and there is carbon emissions, and how there were some local lawyers also presented, and how it is impacting the world. A country like Middle East, like UAE, Dubai, and we did some comparative study between the United States and the India and developing nations. So in terms of the air law and noise pollution and water pollution back in India, I was, because my research paper in international was Bhopal gas tragedy and Chernobyl gas. How it has impacted India, and how the measures should be taken, and how we are still behind. If you see, the way, during the rainy season, if you see Hyderabad, especially, many of the suburbs are getting submerged in the water. And why? Because of the climate change. And many, how the measures are not being taken. For example, I was specially addressing on Hyderabad tank bund, where they immerse Ganapatis and even Batkama, and how they've been polluting the water, how the marine bodies they're dying in terms of tank bund, how there's so much a bad odor smell when you travel in Hyderabad, because a lot of fishes and marine bodies are dying, and who is fighting for their rights? We have people who fight for the human rights. We have people who have fighting for the animal rights, and who is there to fight for this marine life in the world? You understand what I mean? So, I was suggesting and recommending that they should stop polluting, and the Telangana government and Indian government has to take certain measures. So that was my environmental law topic.
Yes. So, Mr. Kaveti, I do remember that last time you were in Israel and you also told that you had a trip to Israel and you were also explaining and working on the labor rights. So can you explain of what exactly did you do in Israel, and also, how is this associated to people from India, and, can you explain the whole situation to us?
Yes, it was very heart touching when I was in Israel because I met a lot of people, those who became illegal and they're filing political asylum applications, and it gets denied, and they're living with fear. See, what is happening, Shivani, if you see the world, by sitting in America, we don't see the other side of the world. If you see India, unfortunately, there's so much of unemployment. And after COVID, so many industries have closed, a lot of unemployment between educated people. And of course, there's so much of unemployment with uneducated people. And these people are just trying to get out of the country for some odd jobs in, Middle East and in countries like Israel. So I met a lot of South Indians, those who are just going on a visit visa. And I met a lot of Christians, so those who are going on Christian missionaries to visit this holy land, Jerusalem and Bethlehem, and they're overstaying. And the middlemen from India, they're charging 25 lakh rupees just to get a visa to Israel. It was an eye opening for me. I said, why the middleman is charging 25 lakh rupees and just to get a visitor visa to Israel? And these guys, when they go, and these are qualified people. I even met one teacher. I don't want to name his. Don't want to give his name. He's MA MED. He was a teacher, principal. Goes to Israel and overstays there. Applies for political asylum. And what is he doing? Unfortunately, doing cleaning in houses. Of course, he's making money, but he filed a political asylum. Application is denied. He's living with fear now. And whenever he looks at a police, he's getting scared. So I met some lawyers and I met all these guys and what sort of rights they have. Unfortunately, in countries like Middle East or in countries like Israel, because of the language barrier, and the law is only used in Hebrew, only the Hebrew lawyers can appear in the courts. They don't have certain human rights the way we have in America. And these people are all going there and filing political asylum applications. And unfortunately, there are no refugee camps in Israel and like America. And there are no human rights there, unfortunately. So they're just staying there for a few years and going back to India. And when they get arrested, and they're spending so many shekels to come out. And I was talking to lawyers and talking to these guys, what sort of rights they have and why they're taking that route. And I was advising certain people that what they could do in the world. It's not only just going to the Israel or going to these Middle Eastern countries and overstay. And sometimes when they even die, they don't have workers' compensation rights, the way we have it in America and European countries. Things like that. It was heart touching. So I met many people, and I advised them that they have better future in other parts of the world because when I was coming back, I even went to Turkey, and I was talking to somebody from Belgrade, how people are going to Belgrade and how they're going to Portugal and other European countries on a work permit, and they don't have to spend 25 lakhs. When I've seen that, it was heartbreaking. So my future course would be maybe doing some seminars online or even speaking to people. And I've just registered a newspaper when I came to India this time. It's called Nyaya Patrika. It is registered under in Delhi, and it's going to be an online newspaper where it will speak about, different rights to laborers all over the world and certain NRI rights where, non-resident Indians, even it is for professionals or blue-collar workers or people who died or who have met with accidents in all these countries, they can read it in different languages, even in English. So that's another attempt I made, registering a newspaper called Nyaya Patrika, which I'm going to come out by January.
Yes. Mr. Kaveti, I must tell you that it's actually very fascinating to see a lawyer like you dealing with absolutely every single law that's there. I mean, you're not just dealing with international law, you're also dealing with environmental law, and you travel so many different countries. So I think it's time for me to drop the bomb, and I want you to tell us where did it all start? How did you get into becoming a lawyer? I do know that you did study and grow up here in India. So can you tell the viewers about how you started this journey and a little bit about your childhood and How did you start set up your office?
Yes, Shivani. When you most of the times in India, because when I go to India, I give a lot of lectures, and a lot of lawyers come and see me by looking at my interviews on YouTube and a channel like yours. This time, I met at least 30 to 40 lawyers in Vijayawada. They came to see me from Guntur, Rajahmundry, and when I came to Hyderabad, somehow some lawyers came to know, and about 40, 50 lawyers honored me. They invited me to their office, and what happened is, even when I went to Tirupati, a lot of pastors came to see me. That how these Christians, being minority, they've been targeted by because it's a BJP is in power. It's all came when human right violations. When during the time of my college law school, I was very active human right activist, and I was very active in moot court competitions. I was very active during the college times, during my undergrad as well. I contested in my college times. So I saw the problems of downtrodden part of the society and how underprivileged people are not being protected. So I was always touched. And this time when I went to Nizamabad, because I travel a lot, and I went to this Dalit area where I was so much touched. There were 50 to 100 families they live. They don't even have bathrooms. I mean, I promised them that I will build bathrooms, and I'm building actually bathrooms for them, and they don't even have water facility. And I even promised them to give them a water filtration plant, which I'm in the process of doing it. When you see, and I also met some about 50 to 100 women Dalits in Nizamabad, where they have this graveyard where all these higher rich caste people, they're occupying their graveyard. And these politicians, the TRS politicians, are occupying their land. And they came, I mean, I was there, it touched me, and I've shared some photographs of that with you. And what happened is they were saying that these are basic human rights, that if they die, they have a right to even be buried or even be cremated in those lands. And these lands are given by the government. These are all assigned lands. And, they don't even have a right now, because all these real estate goons, they're occupying those lands and selling it. So when I travel, when I meet people, I see so many human rights gets violated, and I do fight for them, and I filed certain complaints, and how these people rights get infringed every time. It's not just sitting in New York and talking about immigration law. And I also advise a lot of women when I travel to India, and when I go to my hometown office. The way it started is because from my childhood, it touched me because my father was a lawyer, and I used to visit village. I used to visit big cities, and I studied in Pune, and I worked in Delhi Supreme Court. Law is very expensive. So underprivileged people who are not competent lawyers, they don't represent clients, or they don't advise clients competently and zealously. They argue. And I do take up a lot of pro bono cases every time I come. And I do a lot of pro bono cases too. Pro bono is for public good. I do file public interest litigations. It's not just to get popularity, but to change the society. As a lawyer, you can change a society. So the way it worked is, from my childhood, I had this longing that I wanted to get educated, many parts of the Western world. That's the way I ended up having my law degree with my gold medal in symbiosis. And then I was a human rights activist, and then I ended up practicing law in district courts, taluk courts, high courts, and Supreme Court of India, and ended up studying in Australia. When I was studying in Australia as well as a law student, I was contesting in the law school in Australia in between white people, because it's all again bottom line comes to our inferior complex, being a brown man contesting elections in a white society. So I was seeing a lot of problems faced by brown kids and black kids in the law school. So I contested there, and I saw, and I used to fight for their rights. And it ended up again when you see students having problems with immigration law, their right to work, right to study, right to get a green card, right to get citizenship, all of that. So I always thought that, when I'm in the Western world, I should fight for immigrants as an immigrant lawyer, or as an immigrant advocate. So that has paved a way. And because of my education in international environmental law, when I did my research on and family law as well in my international studies, my subject was on family law. So I did a special paper on rights of a woman, how these women they get battered, and how these children get, they've been neglected by parents. What are their rights, internationally? I ended up doing, a lot of work on international, human rights and child rights and women rights. And those things as ingrained in me. So that's what I work on wherever I travel and I advise and I fight for the rights of laborers. And I was fighting when I was practicing law back in India. I was advising a lot of cinema workers. I was fighting for rickshaw workers and, a lot of, milk cooling center workers, a lot of workers because I used to teach labor laws back in India. So things like that. And I was also teaching in law school back in India when I was practicing law. And I was teaching a lot of students because I had a flair of teaching and I wanted to share those knowledge because knowledge is the key. When you know your rights on constitutional rights or penal rights, when you enrich yourself with this knowledge, you can live better and you can change the society and it'll be a better society to live in the world. So that's the way, I carry myself, I teach, wherever I go, I work and I help lawyers, I help students, I help women, I help children, and I give a lot of, free legal advices. I do a lot of free legal camps, stuff like that. And I'm continuing to do that. And now because I could afford to run a newspaper called Nyaya Patrika and I could afford to open up offices all over the world. And I wanted to show the world, and that's what I tell young lawyers and young students that if a man like me from a small town place called Karimnagar, if I can do it, and if I can touch people's life in all over the world, in England, in Australia, in UK, in Middle East and India, you guys can do it. That's what the motivation is. And I also do a lot of motivational speeches. So my dream is to give a lot of motivational speeches on different platforms. Yeah, that's what it is. And that's what my success story is. And when I talk to people, they get really inspired because a small man from a small town, a son of a lawyer from a small town, a Mufazzil Court lawyer's son can do it. You guys can do it. That's what my intention is. And I would like to inspire, I would like to enrich people with my knowledge. And I'm continuously do my law studies. And I'm continually talking to students and I'm giving lectures, webinars. And I'm going to spend more time in Middle East and India as well every year, 2 to 3 times. Yeah.
Yes. Finally, Mr. Kaveti Garu, this is something I think this is a little off the topic, but you did work in a movie. So we have last few minutes, but I was wondering, how can you share your experience on how it was when you worked for Jan's Day? And it's gonna release very soon, so I think maybe give us a little hint.
The reason I came to act was it's a judge role, and I wanted to experience because I was when I was in college time, Nizam College, I was the best actor in the college 3 years, and it was a Telugu drama, like it was acting. So I guess you have to be a good actor and good be a spokesman when you want to be a good lawyer in the courts. So I wanted to experience this young boy called Kiran Reddy. He was my YouTube follower. He called me and he said, "Sir, can you act as a judge in my movie?" Just to encourage him, I came all the way from New York, acted in the movie. I was not paid for it because I didn't expect that. And a lot of actors and heroes, they asked me, "You came all the way from New York to act in a movie?" I said it was not just for the sake of money, but I wanted to encourage this young man. And because of this movie acting, I'm getting another opportunity in Marathi in Bombay next month just to act because it's part of branding myself. So that, because movie guys have a lot of influence on the society. I guess as an artist, as an actor, because when you talk, because it's part of branding myself. So that's one of the things. And it was not, that way, that's the way I ended up meeting with Raja, movie actor, and Banerjee, and now I'm speaking to Jay Sudha and a lot of other movie actors. So it
Yes,
just to influence people in all over the world.
yes. Thank you so much, Kaveti Garu. And also, this is something that I want to say. I'm pretty sure there are a lot of people that they wholeheartedly want to say thank you for the amount of work that you're doing. So just think of it that I'm saying thank you from a lot of people who couldn't say thank you directly to you face to face. So I think you're such an amazing man, very sweet hearted, very kind hearted, that you're working so much for people who you don't even know, that they're not, you don't even know, and you're helping them out. A huge thank you to you. A huge thank you for again coming on to our show. Thank you to the viewers for tuning in. You're watching Sakshi TV with me, Shivani Raj.